in life, it's not that an older generation doesn't want to help the younger generation. It's that an older generation does not process their journey and let good. God heal their pain, has no emotional bandwidth to give anybody.
What do you say to leaders that maybe are in, second half of life? If you could encourage pastors and leaders that maybe have walked through the renewal and are now on the tail end of that, to encourage us young guys that are really finding our strength and finding our sound, our shout. Could you speak into that idea of, I use this term lightly, but fathering, in the faith and fathering in some of these movements? Could you speak into that a little bit? What you've seen work, what you've seen not work?
Yeah. The generations that I grew up serving, great leaders. I mean, I had the humbling honor of being a part of some tremendous generals in the faith that have eternal standing with God. But almost without exception, every one of those leaders acted like they were going to live forever and had no legacy plan.
Right. Interesting.
And there was no interest, and they wanted to set a great example, and they're in their 80s still just 100% going for it. And so when they died, there was almost like a shock, and then there was a tremendous diminishing. Because they hadn't raised up sons and daughters.
Right, and a vacuum was created.
A vacuum was created because who can be Moses? Who can be that person?
Right.
So it wasn't a part of they didn't feel an obligation or a passion to replicate themselves that way. They felt a destiny-achieving breakthrough mandate, so they're all pressing into things.
Right.
And so, but what do you think in the long term, that's a bad strategy.
Yes.
Because no one lives forever. At least on the planet. So we have to think in legacy terms. So in life, we learn to do things, we do things, and then we should help others learn to do things. And if we don't kind of graduate into the fathering and mothering aspect, into the helping the next generations, then we've failed at a third of our process or mission, because that's so important to God. And so, I have found the book of Malachi closes with this amazing prophetic word. I will turn the hearts of fathers back to their children.
Right.
The hearts of children back to their fathers, lest I smite the earth with a curse. The curse of what? Fatherlessness. Well, hello, welcome to
the West.
So we
2021.
We have so many amazing leaders that aren't being celebrated in their cities, aren't being honored, aren't being stood with by another generation. Is such a fault. So it's in my heart. I've given my life, and I feel my greatest calling, I felt it for 10 years, is to equip the generations behind me.
Yeah, so good.
And that anything else, I'm glad God allows me to do some stuff, but that is the number one thing. And in any way serve and help and support and encourage and impart, impact, whatever I can do, because that's the way we multiply in the kingdom. And I think that's beginning to happen. I think that God's creating a more, we would call it apostolic in ecclesiastical terms, but really it's just a fathering, it's a family heart. And that's what we want to have in the kingdom, so that nobody feels like, it's almost like when I was in the ministry starting, your guys' age, a little bit younger, starting pastoring and stuff, it was like the church fathers of my city didn't stand with me. So I met with the two largest charismatic guys, and I said, hey, I'm a new guy, I'm starting a church out here. And I'm so excited, I could barely, I'm with these mega church guys. I shared my vision. So both of them politely listened. And so the first guy said, well, Michael, I give you 6 months. I said, 6 months for what, sir?
Yeah.
He
Tell
says,
you're a mega church.
6 months until you fail, pack your bags and leave town.
Oh.
Nice meeting you, goodbye. So I sat in the parking lot. I couldn't drive for like half an hour because I was like shaking. I go, man, now it just crumbled me. So here's a spiritual father cursing me.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, it's okay. I'm going to be okay. I'm meeting with the next guy next week. It's going to be okay. So I'll go to meet the next guy. So I tell him, God gave me this vision. And he said, well, Michael, I give you 10 months.
Oh,
For what, sir? Until you fail, pack your bags and leave town. And so when I sat in that guy's parking lot, I wasn't broken heart. I was just angry.
yeah, I bet.
And I thought, these guys are jerks.
Yeah.
If people knew.
Yeah.
And so I'm 27. And, oh, man. And so it's just like the Lord came into my car, sat down next to me, and he said, Michael, someday you'll be the older man that young leaders come to see.
Wow.
And if you don't let me deal with all the pain and all the trauma that you go through between now and then, by the time you finally have an audience and a platform to help people, you'll only hurt them instead of helping them because you're hurting. Oof. So God made it all about me, not about the jerks.
Wow.
I wrote a book, and one of the chapters was, grumpy old men.
Yeah.
So that's the truth. So what happens in life, it's not that an older generation doesn't want to help the younger generation. It's that an older generation does not process their journey and let God heal their pain, has no emotional bandwidth to give anybody. So we need to see a bunch of healthy older leaders that are happy, that celebrate the success of others, that aren't Sauls, that don't want to murder the next generation, but want to encourage and lift them up.
Yeah.
We want to exhibit that. So a few of my friends, like Bill Johnson, is a great example of that. I'm trying to be the happy old guy, encouraging everybody, because it's unfair. It's unfair to not father a generation and then criticize them for failing. It's almost like you wanted that.
Yeah.
So if you don't support them, it's because you feel better about your own failures when you see someone else fail. Man, there was so much stuff we have to get out of us. We have to be each other's best cheerleaders and really stand with each other in faith. So the kingdom of God, so the ministry is a very emotionally difficult assignment. And we have to get really good at self-healing, letting God work, healing in us, okay? Take heed to yourself. It's the charge of Paul to Timothy several times. Pay attention to yourself. And so we want to be healthy. And so to do that, we have to process things. We have to let God deal with things. We have to forgive people that hurt us. We have to reveal things so God can heal things. We have to get accountability. We have to be as integrous as we can possibly be. So we can do things that not only help us survive the ministry, but help us to thrive in it.
Yeah, that's good.
And so Jesus said, blessed are they that mourn. And we've made such a spiritual exercise about that. He didn't explain why we would mourn. He said, blessed are they that mourn, they shall be comforted. And so in the kingdom of God, there's no brokenness in me he can't heal, no matter how it came, no matter if it was my mistake or someone's abuse. If I'm mourning, he said, I got a comfort for that.
Yeah, that's good.
And Paul said, the God of all comfort will comfort us in all of our trouble. Oh, and by the way, so that we'll be able to comfort people in the future with the same comfort that we received in this moment of crisis.
Yeah, super good.
That's what ministry ends up being, all these God encounters that kind of build up into a resume of grace that we can pour into people's lives. And so God, he does take what the enemy meant for evil, he turns it for good
Yes.
if we let him.